What is Data Factory in Microsoft Fabric? Hi, hello everyone. I'm Naval Yamil. Welcome back to my YouTube channel DataMaster and welcome to the playlist on Microsoft Fabric. In this video, we are going to talk about what is Data Factory in Microsoft Fabric. So when it comes to Microsoft Fabric, you can see there are many experiences in it. So all the data people can work together on one single platform. It's a software as a service. So if you are working as a data engineering, so most of the time we'll be using a data factory experience to do the data ingestion, to do the data transformation, to do the data orchestrations, and then store the data or load the data. So we're going to see what is data factory in today's video. So I'll be referring this documentation, official documentation from the Microsoft. I'll be giving you the link of that. So data factory empowers you with a modern data integration experience to ingest the data from varieties of sources and prepare the data and transform the data from a rich set of data sources and then store the data. You can store the data in the database, data warehouse, lakehouse, or you can also store it in a real-time data and many more. Whether you are a professional or you are a beginner who want to transform the data with a intelligent tool, data factory is for you. So when it comes to a data factory, actually there are two sets here, you can say, or at a very high level there are two features in this data factory. One is called Dataflows, and the second is a data pipelines, or you can simply call it as a pipeline. So Dataflows enables you to leverage more than 300 transformations. It's a low code, or you can simply say a no code tool. By just with few clicks you can do all the transformation, whether it can be renaming the column, changing the data type, adding a new column, you extracting few data from it, for example extracting the date, time, year, month, or doing the calculation. All can be done by using this data flows. So people, those who are already familiar with Power Query, in like Power Query experience is available in many Microsoft products and services, like it's available in Excel, it's available in the Power BI, Power Platform, Dynamic 365. It is very similar and it's called as a data flows in Microsoft Fabric. And then we have a data pipeline. So at a very high level, there are two features of the data factory. One is data flows. It is similar to Power Query, and we have a data pipeline. It is similar to the data factory in Azure Data Factory. So we talk about the pipeline for data orchestration, connecting the data from various sources, creating a pipelines, creating the dependencies on the different tasks, and then we can use data flows in the data pipeline to do the transformations and so on. So as I told you, data flows, it can connect to 100 of data sources. So we can connect from 100 of different data sources and we can do the transformation. So more than 300 data transformations are possible, and it is very similar to the framework called Power Query. We have talked about it, and your UI looks something like this. And we have a data pipelines. It's a very powerful workflow capabilities at the cloud scale. If you are dealing with even terabytes, petabytes of the data, you can create a data pipelines, and you can copy the data, and you can even execute your notebooks, even you can execute your Spark notebooks, your Databricks notebooks within this data pipeline. And once you have attached everything, you can automate this. We have a feature called trigger in this, and we can try automating all this by using the data pipeline trigger features. So let us jump on to the hands-on, and I'll show you how these data factory experiences and these features, data flows and the data pipelines looks like. Let me go back to the Microsoft Fabric here, and you can see we have a data factory experience. So let me tell you, when you are using a powerbi.com for your enterprise level, and if you have enabled the Microsoft Fabric, you will get this type of UI. You can switch it to the Microsoft Fabric here, and now we are entering into the data factory experience. So once I click on the data factory experience, yeah, I was talking about the data flows, and we have a data pipelines. So Dataflows is like a Power Query, no code, low code tool. You can do more than 300 transformations. You can connect to more than 100 plus sources. We have a data pipelines where we can create an activities. We can create multiple activities. We can automate this by using a triggers and so on. So let me tell you, if you are creating any of the item within the experiences, we need to choose the workspace. So by default, it is showing you the current workspace, that is my workspace, but I don't want to create these items in my workspace, because if you are following my videos, I have created a workspace in my previous videos, and my workspace is DataMaster YouTube. So for the YouTube, we have created this workspace and I have pinned this. Let me just switch to that particular workspace. And in my previous videos, I talked about the task flow, I talked about how the workspace UI looks like and so on. Okay, and we have created few items in it, like we created a data pipeline, we created a lakehouse and so on. We will be going deep diving, or we're going to see all the details about the data pipelines and the lakehouses and so on. Now I'm going to create a new item, and that is your data flows. First, I'll show you the data flows, and then I'll show you the data pipeline. I'll click on new item, and you can see we have an option called get data. In get data, we have a data pipeline and the data flow gen 2. So we have a gen 1 also, but Microsoft Fabric recommends you to move to the gen 2. So I'll just switch to the generation 2 data flow. So once you click on the gen 2, it will ask you for the name. You can see now you got a Dataflow gen 2 UI. It's nothing but a Power Query at the top. You can see Power Query, you can see Dataflow saved, and you can get the data from various sources. As I told you, you can import it from the Excel, or you can import it from the SQL Server. As we progress further, I'll be explaining you everything, like how we can export it from the SQL Server and so on. You can see there are so many options. So Microsoft says that there are more than 100 sources from where you can connect your data sources. And let me show you that. If you click on more, and you can see this amazing UI, amazing pop-up window that shows you all the sources, Excel, your CSV files, even if it can be your semi-structured data like your XML, JSON, or even if you have all the files in a particular folder, your PDF, Parquet file, your SharePoint folder, you have MySQL database, your PostgreSQL databases, your SAP HANA databases, Google's BigQuery, Redshift, Amazon's Redshift, and so many. So it's 100 plus. Even you can extract the data from your Azure Databricks and so on. So if you want any specific source to be connected, and if you want me to do that, please comment in the comment on this YouTube video. I'll definitely make a separate video on those connectors. Now I'll be taking an Excel and I'll show you how we can extract how we can start working on the Power Query or data flow. It's called a data flow. So I'll just take Excel, and it's asking me, oh, do we have Excel in OneDrive? Do you want to connect that, or do you want to just upload it manually? Now I'll just upload it manually. I'll go to upload file, I'll click on browse, and wow, I need an Excel file now. I need to check, give me a moment. Okay, I have one file called Novel Handloom GST. Okay, let me try to open this, and it's getting uploaded here. Oh, cool. It's done now, and if you can see, whatever the files I've uploaded, it's just going to the SharePoint, to my SharePoint, because I have already linked my my Microsoft Fabric account to my SharePoint, to my OneDrive. So that's the reason why it's taking up the link, or it is taking up the URL of my SharePoint. Wow. So the moment I clicked on the Excel, you can see there are so many sheets in that Excel. There are so many sheets. So we have from April 22, January 21, and there are many. You can see there are many sheets within that. So what I'll do now, I'll just take April 22. It's real-time data. Oh, cool. You can see this. This is your all about the GST data. We have few columns here. We have records and so on. So now I'll just try to click on create. We have so many nulls here. Obviously we have nulls. We need to clean all those things. Yeah. So this is how your Power Query UI looks like once you load the data. So whatever the sheets you have loaded, you can see all them here in the queries tab. Now it's a queries now. You can see them in the queries tab. You can minimize them. And you can see on the right side, we have a query settings. So whatever we are doing in this Power Query or data flow, everything is tracked in this applied steps. You cannot do undo here. Like it looks like an Excel sheet. And if you're trying to do some editing here, no, you cannot do that. You cannot edit anything in the cell. You cannot manipulate it. You cannot manipulate the entire data set. Yeah, you can do that. You cannot change the data. You cannot change the data. So whatever the changes you are doing it, all will be captured in this query settings tab. Okay, query settings tab. You can rename the file name and so on. This is on the right side. Left side, I shown you about the queries. Whatever the tables or the Excel files we are pulling out, extracting it, all can be seen in this queries tab. Apart from this, you can see at the top ribbon, you can call it as a ribbon. You have few tabs like a home tab, transform tab, add column tab, view and help. So these are all transformation. You can say you can do all the transformations without writing any code. So it's simply few clicks. With few clicks you can do wonders. You can do all the cleaning. Now this is a real-time data. It's one of my clients data. I'll show you how to do the transformation. You can see there are so many nulls here and all the column names starts with column 1, column 2, column 3. Can we get a correct column headers? I'll show you. I'll try to do it. So if you are coming from a non-coding background and if you are working on the data engineering, data analytics one, if you want to clean the data, yeah, you can do it. If it's SQL or if it's Python, Pandas, PySpark, we write a code here. We convert it to a data frame. We try to rename the column names, get a correct column headers and so on. We write a code there. But here with few clicks, you can do it. With few clicks, you can do it. So as Microsoft Fabric's document says that there are more than 300 transformations. By just few clicks you can do it. But let me tell you, whenever you are doing a click, whenever you are trying to do the transformation, behind the scene there is one language and that's called an M language. It's a mashup language. So you can see here we have a code. So behind the scene it's a code, but you don't need to worry much as at a beginner's level. But if you're going deep dive into it, definitely you need to understand how this query language or M query language works. Now I'll try to minimize this. So to minimize it, you can see we have a query tab here. I'll just say keep that query script off. If you want, you can take that query script. And we have one more option called step script. So if you click on step script, it will show you just a single step. For now, I would just turn off the query script. And we have different views here. One is diagram view, one is a data view, one it will show you the schema view. But we do not have a proper table or we do not have a proper header. So switching to the schema view at this point doesn't make any sense. Now I'll go to the data view. So to do the transformation, as I told you, we really need to write a code in other programming languages or other frameworks. But in Dataflows, in Microsoft Fabric, life becomes really very easy, and let me show you how. So if you look carefully, this is my data. Okay, this is my headers. I can say date, invoice name, and GST, SGST, IGST, and so on. This is my invoice. This is my actual data. It starts from here. Row 1 to 3 doesn't make any sense. It's a null value. There might be some data in that. It doesn't make any sense. We have company name and so on. There are a lot of nulls here. So first and the foremost thing is I'll just try to remove these 3 rows. I'm removing these 3 rows. If it's a SQL, I write a query and say where the column 1 is equal to null and so on. But here with few clicks, as I told you, you can go here and say reduce row. So I'm talking about transformation. I'm doing the transformation now. If I click on reduce row, you can see we have remove rows. Yeah, I want to remove rows. And yeah, I want to remove top row. You can just click on it. And how many rows do you want to remove? Beautiful. I'll say I want to remove top 3 rows. I'll just click on OK, and beautiful. With few clicks, you can see all the top 3 rows has been removed, has been deleted. Can you see that? And as I told you, every step you are doing it can be tracked in this query settings tab. So you cannot do undo here. As I told you, you can just, if you want to go back, you can remove this step. Now we have removed it. Now this is my header. I'm sure this is my header, like date, invoice number, and so on. So now my first row should be an header. So we have a function, or we have the transformation function saying that first row is an header. I need to check now. Okay, transform. Yeah, you can see here in the transform tab, we have first row as an header. Let me click on this, and it looks amazing now. Oh, cool. You can see this is my header. And the moment I switch to the header, the data types, few data types got changed. You can see this got changed, like saying it as a number. Sorry, it's a text, and few did not change because there are few records in the below also. So if you look carefully, this is your purchase and this is a sale. So maybe this might be your sale, this might be your purchase. Okay, let me do Control C. Yeah. So I'll just try to click on this, and I'll remove all the null values from here. I'll remove the null values. I'll click on OK. All the nulls will be removed. Okay, it looks good. Now I don't need these all columns, column number 12 to 22. So I'll try to select all this. You can select it by using a shift. We have a different shortcuts for Mac as well as for the Windows. So let me do it. Yeah, cool. Let me right click, and I'll say remove columns, the selected columns. Oh, it looks good now. It's gone now. It's gone. Now I need a purchase one. I need a purchase. So what I need to do is I want to create a different table for purchase, different table for sales. It makes sense. Okay. So for that, I'll just go back and I'll try to create a duplicate for this. I'll try to duplicate it. Yeah. Now I'll rename this, and I'll say that this is my purchase. This is my sales. Okay, cool. It looks good. Now I need to remove all these records from 12 to so on. So from 12 to 18, I want to remove these 6 records. So you can see reduce the row. So I'll just say remove the bottom rows now, bottom rows, and I'll say 6, and I'll just click on OK. Within few seconds, all the records got deleted. So I don't need this purchase also. I can say remove the null values and click on OK. Okay, you can say remove 7 records, it works. Okay, so we reduced it, and now you got a table which has all the sale values. Now you can change the data types from here. Like I want a whole number. This is my whole number. This is also whole number. You can change that quickly with few clicks. You can see that with few clicks, it's amazing. You can just click it, and this is a whole number, and this is your whole number. Okay, these all are the number data types, or an integer. This is the data type, and this is your number again. Let me convert this to a number. This is text, and this can be your alphanumeric values. Okay, cool. Go to the purchase. Now I need to delete all this 12 records, and this is my data, actual data. So I'll just go to reduce the rows, top rows, number of rows are 12, and this is your purchase data. Okay, so this is how simple it is to do the transformation. I have randomly taken one data set, Excel data, and tried to do the transformation, but I'll be trying to take some real-time use case. I'll be doing a complete demo on it. Don't worry. So now this is your purchase data. This is your sales data. You can take this as a first row as a header, and you can do that. Okay, you can do that. Now, once your data is transformed, so basically I'm talking about loading the data. ETL. So I have extracted the data, and then I tried to do the transformation, and then I'll try to load this data. So when it comes to loading the data, you can see it's saying publish. So when it comes to publish it, it will ask you like, where do you want to store this data? So for that we'll be using a lakehouse, or we'll be using a data warehouse to store the data. So storage, we have these options. Now we have a database also to store the data. Now let me just publish this. So whatever the changes I have done, it will be just saved into this data flows. It takes few minutes. So once the publish has been done, I'll show you how we can store that transform data into the lakehouse or data warehouse. I'll show you. So this was about the data flows. So I'll do a quick recap. So we were talking about the data factory experience in the Microsoft Fabric, and in the data factory experience we have two features. One is data flows. It's similar to the Power Query, and I've shown you. And we have the data pipeline. So I want to show you the UI of how the data pipeline looks like. I'll go to the new, and we have a feature called data pipeline. I'll try to just click on it. So I'll just click on create. It's asking me the pipeline name. I'll just hit on create, and this is how your data pipeline looks like. Oh, cool. It looks like this, where we have one feature called start with guidance. You can just use the copy data assistance, or you can practice with some sample data, or you can take some templates, or you can use a pipeline activities. So just to start with a blank canvas, let us start with a sample data. I would like to see how the UI looks like when I click on create a sample data. So okay, it is taking the New York taxi into the lake house and so on. So we need to make a connection. Okay, so what I'll do first, I'll show you the UI, and then we'll come back to the sample data. I'll just click on pipeline activity, and I'll take a copy data activity. Cool. So this is how your data pipeline UI looks like. So we need to add a source, like from where you need to connect the data from. You can click on more, and you can see there are many data sources, like very similar to our Dataflow Gen 2, where we can connect to varieties of sources. So in our upcoming videos, I'll be connecting the data to my Azure SQL database, from the Azure Data Lake Gen 2, Azure Blobs, even from the Databricks, Snowflake, and so on. Apart from this, if you need any specific source that needs to be connected, let me know in the comment. I'll definitely do that. So this is about the source. Then we have a destination. So where you want to store the data. Do you want to store the data in a data warehouse, obviously in the Fabric, or a lakehouse? So depending on the use case, we might choose a lakehouse or the warehouse. It's within the Microsoft Fabric, but if you want outside the Microsoft Fabric, still it works. You can use your databases, your data warehouses, or any modern data warehouses like a Snowflake, BigQuery, and so on. Okay, you can do that. So we need to create a source destination. I'll make a separate video on the data pipeline using a copy activity data, and there are so many activities. I'll be taking a separate video, but now let us just look at how the UI looks like. So we need to we can take a different activities here, and you can see that activities tab is here. So we have copy data activity, you have the other data flows. So data flows, whatever we have done in the Power Query, you can take that in this pipeline as well. Okay, data flow is there, and you can see, come to the activities tab at the top. You can see data flow is there, notebooks are there. If you're writing a PySpark notebook, if you're writing a code and you want to automate that, you can run them in the pipeline by using this activity. Then we have a get metadata activity, lookup activity is there. Those who are familiar with the data factory, they might know all this. If you are a beginner, do not worry. I'll try to cover each and every item or each and every activities in this data pipeline activity. We have a script, we have a variable, for each, web activity, we have invoke pipeline activity. You can use a semantic model, Azure Databricks, and you can see there are so many other activities you can take in the pipeline. And once you have set up your pipeline, like, okay, I want to check the metadata, and once it's if you feel like, okay, I want to check the metadata and take a if condition, and then if it satisfies your condition, then I want to copy the data, you can set up all that. And if you want to automate it, yeah, you can do that in the runs tab. You can validate that, you can run it manually. If you want to schedule it, you can schedule it by adding a trigger. And again, those who are beginners, do not worry, I'll try to make a separate video on all this one by one, and we have a view. You can check it in the JSON format, how your all the pipeline settings configurations look like and so on. You can align them and you can zoom in, zoom out and so on. So this is how your pipeline UI looks like. So let me do a quick recap now. I'll make a separate video on data pipeline hands-on. It was just a UI part, a theory part. So I'll do a quick recap. So we started with a data factory experience in Microsoft Fabric. So when it's a data factory, there are two features in it. One is Dataflows. It's similar to Power Query, where you can do more than 300 transformations. You can connect to more than 100 plus sources. No code tool. Okay. Then we have a second type, that is your data pipelines. It is similar to the data factory, where you can create an activities within it. You can create a dependencies between that, and you can connect more than 100 plus sources here. You can try doing a data ingestion, doing a ETL, data orchestration, scheduling it, everything in one single framework, and it's called a data pipeline. So these are the two features. So I'll be making a separate videos on data flows, data factories, data pipelines. If you need anything, please do comment on this video. I'll definitely take a special use case and try solving that. So thank you for watching this video. If you feel this content, or if you are trying to make your career into Microsoft Fabric, this will really help you a lot. So if you feel the video was useful, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye bye.